Hey, everybody. Guess what? It's that time of day. It's that time of day where I'm
having my Korean panic attack.
All right. We've taken the blood pressure meds. We're all ready to go. Today's going to be I feel it's going to be a grumpy, ranty day. Yeah, and you know it's going to be when you got a really serious topic, a really kind of odd, disgusting situation that you have to talk about, and then you decide you need to do some things before the stream and it doesn't work out, and then you get behind and bad stuff happens. So let me put up the poll real quick. We need our like and subscribe poll for the 119 of you that are here right now, but I mean already 93 of you hit the like button, so probably don't need to do this, but I'm a creature of habit. Here's the lamest poll ever. Did you hit the like and subscribe buttons? Yes. Here we go. How's that? That's a pretty creative thing here. Oh, no, it gives no as an option. Well, screw you. If anybody clicks no, I will seriously ban you myself. And speaking of like and subscribe, it's great to watch this little thing go up and down again. Like I said, we've been going on the roller coaster from down to 36,000, up to 36,025, down to 36,000. We've fallen under the 36,000 thing now. Thanks, YouTube. Appreciate the random unsubscribing. I'm sure there's people that have actually just unsubscribed, but again, they just dropped like 15 in the last 3 hours. So we're at 35,999 subscribers. So screw you, YouTube. Anybody that hasn't subscribed that's here right now, I'd appreciate it if you would just give me that little subscribe button, get us back over the 36,000 mark, because that's just really stupid. I would appreciate that. And Tia Nana has joined the Clean and Sober crew earlier today. I didn't have a time. We were at exactly 36,000 again. The world has at least achieved some sort of Zen state. All right, thanks. Everybody continue to hit the like and subscribe button. Take the poll, the stupid poll, and of course the only correct answer to that poll. Okay, people, 15% of you have hit the no. Fix yourself. All right, love all you guys. We do have some things to talk about. We got some serious issues to talk about. A rant is coming, and we have a hard exit in 2 hours. We'll talk about all that as soon as we bring up our guest for the day, who is has been up to the point where me talking about this being literally the only person I have seen addressing this on the entire internet. Let's bring up our guest for the day, Stevie Wonder.
Jeff, I made bad life decisions last night.
Would you like a drink, Megan? Huh?
No,
Would you
God,
like a
no.
drink, Megan Fox? I've got a delicious hardcore whiskey double old-fashioned here.
Can you keep it down just a little bit?
I am filled with scotch and bitterness and impure thoughts.
Just let me nibble on my dry toast.
Munch.
Oh, God. I may or may not make it through the next 2 hours.
I hope you get it. And I blame Steve Gosney.
Oh, this is all Steve's fault.
It's all Steve's fault.
No, this is my fault. I am an idiot. I've been battling with neck pain since December. And
alcohol is a muscle relaxant. You should have some more.
Yeah. And here's the big mistake I made.
What's the big mistake you made?
The big mistake I made was I had been, drinking fairly regularly, shall we say.
She means heavily.
to help me sleep, get rid of the pain. And then I took a week and went on spring break with my children to my sister's house, where her husband is the pastor of the church there. So there is no alcohol in that house. None. Zero.
He's one of those no fun pastors. Okay.
He's a lot of fun. There's just no alcohol in the house.
That's what I meant.
And to be fair, I did buy some, but I had maybe like a glass, 2 glasses. That's it for like the whole week. And then I came home and was in pain after a long drive and was like, yeah, I'm going to hit the bottle. Like the good stuff.
Yeah.
And I had not acclimated to it really. That was the big mistake. The big mistake is if you're going to drink, keep drinking. Don't stop for a week.
I still blame Steve.
This is my fault. This is all my fault.
Well, everybody, welcome. Hey, welcome all the mods. We've got mods here: Valhalla, Shizzy, Flux. Who else is here? Rose, are you here? You're always here, Rose. Where are you? Corn Pope is here. There's no Rose sighting. Maybe Rose will show up. Anyway, mods, thank you. Lady Autumn Sky is here. Thanks, everybody. Alan, of course. Alan's the furniture of my channel. When he gets rearranged, people wonder what happened and they bump their shins. Flux kicking us off with the super chats. Mocha Dick Poon, XOXO, fully adjustable. Ha 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 ha. Mom needs a Bloody Mary. Oof. Love you, Megan. The reporter, not the thumbs, medium smart.
I can't even think about alcohol right now. If I think about alcohol, I'm going to roll out of this chair vomiting.
Well, we'll just let Miles Davis chill here and
the studio lights are so harsh. I tried to take the sunglasses off and I was like, no, not yet. No, not yet.
Oh, wow. Well, unfortunately, this is probably just about where the levity of the evening ends.
Oh God, I know, right?
This is
so gross.
And I captioned this video, this stream, absolutely disgusting and despicable things in the Bonny Eagle School District libraries. Now, I want to start off by saying that I don't think the books that we're going to be talking about in the libraries are disgusting and despicable in and of themselves. I'm not calling for any degree of censorship whatsoever. I think everybody should have access to these books, but there's a time and a place. That's all I'm saying. And the stuff we're going to be talking about, I think, has no place in middle school.
I think there's also an argument to be made that there's no literary value.
I disagree with that.
Well,
I mean, that's a pretty low threshold
for school.
of any of this.
School. With the Supreme Court actually made rulings on this, where they talk about if a book is just purely for prurient interest only, without literary value, it is obscenity and can be removed from any school library, and it does not violate anyone's First Amendment. That should be kept in mind. If the work is geared towards prurient interest only, the Supreme Court already said you can toss it.
Well, and here's an interesting thing. Children have no right to First Amendment protections. What do you think of that? That is,
I guess that's kind of true.
They're not adults. They're not voting age. And that was one thing way back in the day. Remember Robert Bork? Yes. Judge Bork came and spoke at our school back when he was allowed to speak. Well, back when he was alive. Back when is he dead? I think he's dead. Anyway, he was allowed when conservatives were allowed to speak on university campuses. He came and spoke on ours
about 100 years ago.
Yeah, and I was still in high school, and I was on the newspaper staff, and we were restricted from doing certain things and publishing certain types of stories. And I said, in what way is that not a violation of First Amendment rights? I said, you're minors. You have no voting rights. You have no rights to the protections of the Constitution beyond the basics. And it's for the betters that allow you that they have the right to control you in that situation. It's a time and a place argument.
You're right, and kids don't have free speech in school. They can't say whatever they want to their teachers. Yeah. They can't, they get
right.
Yeah. They would be punished or sent to detention or whatever, and they can't sue because their First Amendment rights were violated. They can't even wear t-shirts they want to wear.
Right. That's you as a student in a school, as a minor student in a school, you have no right to First Amendment protections. It's a time and a place thing. And certainly putting this literature in the hands of middle school students, if not elementary students, is utterly insane. There's no excuse for it.
We should warn you guys that this stream is for sure going to be demonetized.
Yeah.
The kinds of things you're about to hear are not allowed, I don't think.
Well, this is what I've been saying since I decided that I was going to do this. Since we talked about it, the fact that a middle school student can walk into a library and read this stuff, but I can't talk about it on YouTube.
Nope.
Figure out the logic in that. Figure out the fact that I am going to be age restricted because I am going to play video of people reading from the books that elementary school and middle school students have access to in their school library.
And high school too. And let's not forget that high school starts at 13, 14 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
So when people are like, well, it's fine for high school. Oh, really? Well, I have a 13-year-old. I don't want her reading about bestiality. For one, it's illegal. Why on earth should any child be pondering the wonders of bestiality? Excuse me? This is like, and we're not even talking about the books with the drug content.
Yeah.
The drug content in some of these books, the glorification of drugs is unbelievable. And for kids, it's highly inappropriate. Why the hell would you ever sit your 13-year-old or whatever down to watch Train Spotting? So why would you wouldn't. So would you give it to them in a book? Just because they're reading I hate the argument that's like, who cares what kids read as long as they're reading? What? No. No.
Yeah. I have problems. And like I said, I am not calling for the banning of these books, period. I'm just saying, why do we need, I mean, hell, I know it's a bajillion years ago when I was in elementary and middle school. We had books about, horses and and things,
Yeah.
We had Black Beauty. We had
Beauty.
Misty of Chincoteague.
Misty was a great book.
That was one of my favorite books growing up.
Anne of Green Gables, one of my Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn. These were the books that we were. The Yearling, wonderful book. Remember Where the Red Fern Grows? These were all fantastic.
It was a sad story.
It was a sad story, but it was beautiful, right? It was epic and beautiful.
Summer of the Monkeys. Did you ever read that book?
I did not read that.
It was about a circus train or something that was going across the United States, and it wrecked, and all the monkeys got loose.
Oh, that's fun.
It was kind of like a Where the Red Fern Grows, but without red ferns and without dogs, but monkeys.
The thing about those types of stories is that they would teach children about the hard realities of life, right? In a way that was understandable to them and would introduce these subjects that are so difficult to talk about, like death.
Show me someone who didn't tear up at Old Yeller, and I'll show you a soulless monster.
Yeah,
and
Old Yeller.
Shane, don't die. Shane was another great thing, but yes, it was based on a true story from Pennsylvania.
Some people are actually trying to compare Judy Blume to the books that we're about to discuss. And someone just mentioned, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret."
Well, we just thought that was funny as a young boy.
I mean, it was really just about girls getting their periods and stuff. Like it had nothing to do with what we're talking about now. These books make Judy Blume look like, I don't know, Martha Stewart. I mean, it's so different than what we're about to listen to. It's not in the same ballpark.
Yeah, not even. And that's what I mean when I was posting about it on Twitter. Nicholas Starov was saying, "Well, is this like another one of these Anne
Frank's diary?"
Anne Frank's diary thing. I'm like, well, no, not really,
not at all.
We'll see why. It's in a completely different league, and like I said, the books, I don't have a problem with their existing. Fine, great, put whatever you want. Just we have to assert our rights as adults and at least try to give our kids a little bit of a moral upbringing, at least try to shelter them from this kind of stuff until, as long as possible. There's no way you can shelter them until they're adults.
You honestly don't even have to make the argument. Studies have made it for you. Pornography harms kids. It is a fact that children exposed to pornography when they are minors are harmed by it, period, in a myriad of different ways. Studies have been done. It's so bad in England. They had 12-year-olds raping one another because of the porn they were exposed to. And they had to
Well, there
act.
goes monetization 15 minutes in.
I'm sorry, but we knew it was going to
I
happen
know.
anyway.
I know.
I mean,
But
there's just no reason for adults, grown-ups, to be like, yeah, it's fine giving children access to porn. And in fact, let's encourage it. Just be an adult, for fuck's sake.
it's on their phone. They're gonna find it. Well, at least when I discovered that my son had figured out about the marvels of cell phone technology, I think he was 13. They're gonna find it. There's no reason to point them in the direction and go, here it is, go check this out. And
Right. I mean, it's good to have conversations about it, certainly, to talk to them about why it can harm them and why they should look away. But it's certainly, as an adult, you're an idiot if you think it's a good idea to encourage pornography use in children. It is absolutely ridiculous. Don't do it.
I, do, do you even really? And how stupid is it that you just had to say that?
Right? How dumb is it that I have to say it? Who are these people who can't be adults about this and be like, hey, you know what? Some things are for adults. Alcohol is for adults. We've decided that as a society. We don't just hand kids booze. Marijuana is for adults. We don't hand that to kids either, unless you're a total moron. We restrict all kinds of things. Tattoos, we restrict from children because you need to be a certain age to make those types of decisions. And porn is no different. And we used to put it behind a shelf in a paper bag, and nobody was allowed to buy it without an ID. And then when the internet was invented, suddenly everyone forgot that it was a good idea to age restrict it. And so now it's just like, well, because they can see it on their phone, I guess we should also give it to them in school. What?
I hate when you're right about things like this.
I know.
Because I mean, that's I really hate it.
No one wants to agree with the crazy conservative lady.
Yeah, I know.
But it's true. The slippery slope is very slippery, and we are all the way at the bottom. There's nowhere left to go unless I guess the next step is whatever the hell the Dalai Lama was doing to that kid. On camera.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Could someone investigate him, please? Can we look at
it
his hard drive?
It has its roots in cultural misunderstanding, and it makes things really, really hard to explain. I mean, Koreans used to have some weird stuff that freaked me out, and I said, "Well, if you ever do that to my son again, I'll break both your freaking arms." It's like a thing like where grandpas would grab the penis of little boys as like, "Oh, you're gonna grow up to be a big man someday," kind of thing. And the bus driver did that to my son.
What?
And I mean, it's a thing here, but it's now people are going, oh, maybe that's not such a cool cultural thing after all. And I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's done some kind of creepy things in the past too.
I have heard that sticking your tongue out in his culture is a sign of respect, but there's nothing about it. There's nothing about asking a kid to suck it.
And that's where the hard to explain parts come in. You can get it up to that point, and then you go, well, culture aside, this is a hard one to explain, Mr. Llama, Mr. Alpaca.
I don't want to explain it. I don't want to accept it. I'm saying unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I mean, there's allegations in the past. That's why I'm saying, the sticking your tongue out and things that's a cultural thing, and that's where the misunderstanding begins. And then you just kind of lose the ability to really explain things once you get to the suck my tongue part of the conversation.
Well, he's apologized, by the way. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, literally, that was like the only way.
I still want an
investigation.
I want an investigation. I want a hard drive check, dude. That's just so unacceptable.
And this is me and my ADHD going way off the reservation here, but this is what happens when you put people up on pedestals. You find out they're kind of creepy when you start to scratch the surface. Mother Teresa was kind of an unpleasant human being. When you get right down to some of the abuses that happened there in India and whatnot, and the Dalai Lama, anybody I think if you make icons out of people, at some point, if they drink their own Kool-Aid, they think they can get away with anything. I think it's part of the human condition. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about some really horrific stuff that is clearly beyond any possible rational means of explanation as to why this is in our schools. But before we do that, let's get a couple of these super chats out of the way here. How you feeling, Megan?
I'm getting better. The toast helped.
Better?
I'm getting better. The headache is at least gone. I took massive amounts of, headache
sugar.
pills. So, yeah, the toast is about all I can handle right now.
Ugh.
And the coffee. I'm good.
Shizzy Wiznut says 50 Shades of Flux has a nice ring to it. Okay, thank you so much for that. To be Flair, Jeff, what about Huck Finn? Funny you should mention Huck Finn. See, Huck Finn is at least it was last time I checked in Utah. It should be required reading everywhere. The only reason that people try to ban Huck Finn is because of the character Jim. And
Yes.
because they use the N-word. What we need is not to ban Huckleberry Finn. We need to get teachers that know how to teach Huckleberry Finn.
And by the way, it's the left that wants to get rid of
Yes.
Huckleberry Finn, not the right. It's the left who are scared of words, who call words.
And that's the thing. Mark Twain specifically wrote that character Jim and gave him that name. And if you can even read below even the merest facade of the surface of that book, you will see that his intention was to show that Jim was by far the smartest and most put together character in that entire book.
Yeah, context matters. It matters.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a different world. Calling someone N-word Jim, and again, the fact that I can't even say that in a character context,
Right.
is
No,
a
you
stupid
can't.
thing.
You
But
can't.
he was the smartest guy in the book. He was the one. He had the street smarts. He knew how to do things. Knew how to get things done.
By the way, though.
Oh yeah.
By the
now
way,
what?
that word, which the left wants to take Huck Finn out of the libraries and out of the schools. That word, though, is in all of these young adult books now, ad nauseum, used in street slang ways that they're asking white children to read. But these same white children can never repeat that word. You want to talk about mixed signals? Why are we doing that? If Huckleberry Finn can't be in the classroom because of that word, then you better go through every damn book in the library and take out every book that has that word.
Yeah, and To Kill a Mockingbird. If To Kill a Mockingbird had been banned, I probably would not have become a lawyer. That was one of the first books that sent me down this path that I'm on. Nicholas Starr of Union Rep Labor Law, thank you so much. Teenagers probably know more than us, but shouldn't be in schools other than as part of a sex ed about the illegal stuff. Yeah, and this has nothing to do with sex ed at all. Zero. Music and Fiction, thank you so much for the super chat. Didn't Tinker versus Des Moines deal with 1A for kids? I believe that was. I mean, I haven't dealt with youths and First Amendment probably since I asked that question back in high school. But yeah, in schools there is no First Amendment protection for children.
No.
Dragon's Treasure. Thank you so much, Dragon's Treasure. This is why I despise the who cares if attitude, because this is what happens when you use that lazy excuse of a philosophy. Right. And Megan Hunter, RRT, thank you so much for the super chat. Since the stream is likely to get demonetized and because YouTube doesn't give me the join button for a membership, you are obviously on an iPhone. Anything other than an iPhone, the button is right down there below the stream. But iPhone is weird. I want you to have this just in case. Well, thank you so much, Megan. That is so deeply, deeply appreciated. Marloka, that's either a cat or a dog or a really badly drawn monkey. I hope it's a cat because it looks like a cat to me. All right. Well, here we are. We're 26 minutes into this.
You're like stalling.
Yeah, you're right. And I just about subconscious. I was trying to click on the button to remove this super chat, and I almost subconsciously clicked on the end broadcast. Seriously, I clicked on it, and thank God it has that double click thing where you like the redundancy button. Otherwise, we would have just ended the stream Absolutely,
you're subconsciously
subliminally.
you're
Right.
subconsciously trying to get out of doing this, and I know I don't blame you. My God, it is horrific. Okay, it's just terrible what they're doing, and I sound like my mother, but the truth
Right.
the truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. We've got to look at it in the face. Look this evil in the face and face it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's the truth. If my father heard the first hour of this board meeting, well, first of all, he's so conservative, he probably wouldn't understand 80% of what they were talking about. But the part he did understand would stroke him right out, just without question. And AA Ron says, Puckwudgie, that is all. Thank
And
you
I
so much
do
for the
have-
Puckwudgie chat.
Do you want me to get to the updates before we watch or after?
We'll do the updates after.
Okay, because there are some. If you're looking for filler before we start this,
I think we just need to jump in because it's an hour. It's the first hour of this 4-hour plus board meeting, and as someone who serves on a school board, I thank God I don't have to deal with these things. Most of it's like the really last boring 3 hours where you get some old guy going, the budget for this year is. I don't know if you saw that part of it.
Yeah, please let's make board meetings boring again.
Oh God, no! See, back in the day we had some serious problems. I mean, some serious problems. Not this serious, but I mean, there were some serious problems, and we were having 4-hour board meetings. Then someone got smart and made me the chairman of the board, and I got us down to 90-minute meetings in about 3 months. So I was pretty happy with myself. Now somebody else's problem. All right, let's do this. I said this is an hour video, so with me, and we have 90 minutes. A hard out because Megan Fox is going to be interviewing Zachariah Anderson over on her channel after this is done. So,
and hopefully Jeff will come with me because I feel like you know the case way better than I do. I still haven't caught up. I'm like on day 7. And how many days in this trial were there?
15, I think.
Holy crap! I am going to catch up with the whole thing, but I've been making a list of like the worst moments in the case for me, and topping them, my number one worst moment has got to be that fight between defense, prosecution, and the judge about allowing in well, there's been a couple. First of all, the marijuana and the drug stuff, so ridiculous that was ever allowed in. So ridiculous.
Right.
And the other one was about the burden shifting. I could do an hour-long show on just that argument alone. I made my sister watch it while I was with her.
Yeah.
And she was constantly stopping the video and screaming, like, what is happening? What is happening?
I'm sorry. I said Zachariah Anderson. I meant Solomon Anderson.
Right.
No,
sorry.
Zach didn't
Everyone
get out.
knows
Sorry.
I can't speak to Zach right now.
Sorry, Flux. Solomon. It's with Solomon Anderson. Sorry. The brother of Zachariah.
I'm actually setting up the stream right now because I still haven't done it. So I'm going to do that while Jeff starts this. And get it. And Jeff, I'll get you the link when I get it set up so you can redirect it.
Super. I will do that. All right. So this is the beginning of this board meeting. This part of this 4 hour. Oh God, it was 4 hours and 31 minutes. I would just delete myself if I ever had to sit through another 4.5 hour board meeting. But this part is the first hour. And let's just get it on, I guess.
Item 5, public comment session pursuant with policy BEDH. A public comment session is scheduled during each regular meeting of the board.
Paired with these guys. Can you hear us talking over them?
Adequate opportunity for the public.
Yeah, how's my microphone?
Matters related to
Is it too loud?
And for the board to obtain information relevant to the scope of its authority. Members of the public wishing to address the board will approach the podium at the time their name is called by the chair, and prior to sharing their message, they will state their name and town of residence for the record. Each person addressing the board will have 3 minutes to speak.
This is Maine. This is Maine, in a school district, Bonny Eagle School District in Maine.
Members may ask additional questions of you following your presentation.
Okay, and so they each get 3 minutes. Every person that comes as a member of the public to speak gets 3 minutes.
They also have illegal public speaking rules, by the way. For one, forcing people to state their address in public that they're streaming online is ridiculous and it's intimidating. And 2, and that's been litigated and won several times. And the second thing that's illegal is telling them that they're not allowed to address anyone on the board specifically or criticize anyone on the board. Oh, fuck off. Yes, I am. This is America. I can say that Sally Jones is the worst board member that I've ever seen in my whole life. And that's not her name, but I'm just saying I can say that, and they can't shut me up. And that's why I'm suing Wauwatosa right now. I'm suing Wauwatosa School District with Robert Barnes, and it's been filed. And we're going to go over that this week, hopefully with Nick at some point. Because they can't do that. They cannot direct your speech. But I just want to point that out.
All right. Well, here we go with the people. These are the parents who have all come to this board meeting to talk about the inappropriate books in their middle school and high school libraries. As soon as I bring up the right window, there we go.
No complaints or allegations will be allowed at board meetings concerning any person employed by MS-86.
See,
Nor
no
shall
complaints
or
about people
allegations be
employed
made
there.
against any particular student
Ridiculous.
or group of students. The chair invites Mr. Ben Boussier of Hollis to address the board.
All right. This is parent number one. And I mean, this is totally random, totally off the subject, but like with our board meetings, we don't allow that either because we have a chain of command that you need to go through before it can get to the board. If it's not resolved by the time that it gets to the board, then the parent that has the complaint against a particular employee or student can bring that into a private session of the board so that it doesn't, cause problems out in public. But anywho, let's get on to this guy here.
Is that
I
in
know you don't
America?
like that.
Is that in America?
No, it's not. It's over here in Korea.
All right. Well, I don't care what you do there. But here in America, that shit doesn't fly, Jeff. It just doesn't fly. You're a public servant. You work for the state, and I'm allowed to say whatever the hell I want to about you and your behavior and what my tax dollars are paying for. And ain't nobody going to shut my mouth and tell me I can't, or go through some process that's private so that the public doesn't hear what their money is paying for. Hell to the no, Jeff. That's ridiculous.
I'm glad that Megan's hangover's gone away and she's back in fine form.
Can you tell? All I have to do to recover is someone has to piss me off. Oh.
Well, let's start the pissing contest. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Ben Bouger from Hollis. I served on the Budget Advisory Committee. I'm the chair of Hollis Republicans, which is a very active organization in the community. I've done a lot on the educational side. I was named a top 14 student in the state of Maine at the community college level. And I'm going to speak briefly about the Freedom Writer's Diary. On page 101, this book references.
Okay, this book is called The Freedom Writer's Diary. And he's going to be reading some excerpts.
Crystal meth use.
All right, hold on. We might have
and
to fix the
it
volume,
being
Jeff.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm going to let him go while we
right.
do this.
A best friend. And I'm just going to give you some numbers. The rate at which drug use went up for 8th graders is 61% between 2016 and 2020. This is roughly just before the pandemic, or just as it happened. The use of drugs, including opiates,
Okay, this should work,
alcohol,
I hope.
and much more, is a significant epidemic amongst our youth.
The youth.
This passage seems to glorify the escape that drugs provide by utilizing the term best friend and quote crystal meth. In fact, the National Institute of Health establishes crystal meth and is in fact the most prevalent amongst young adults. The other epidemic I want to speak about is that of hopelessness amongst our youth, which I can speak to because I'm a part of the youth. I'm a young man. I'm 28
Debatable.
years old. My fiance
20. He's
is in
20
medical
something.
school to be a doctor.
28.
And she's
28. You're not youth
years
anymore. But that's
it's
okay.
It's that
I'll
Steve
allow it.
Buscemi meme with the skateboard in the head.
Hello,
Hello, fellow
kids.
youths. The youths. Yep.
The book also mentions suicide ideation. Gen Z is about twice as likely as those over 25 to battle depressions and feelings of hopelessness. Gen Z is 3 times as likely, 18% comparative to 5% as Americans over 25, to say their challenges are so severe that they thought they might be better off dead. Lastly, suicide rates increased 60% from 2007 to 2019. And then I want to talk about social emotional learning.
The worst.
Implemented and popularized in the 1990s. It's been integrated into our schools because there's no better hand than government to tell us how to improve our lives. But look at these statistics. 2007 to 2019, suicide rates increased 60%. You know why? Because it's not the government that gives us hope, and our identity isn't in the state of our schools. It should be in God. And when we lose our God, that's when we lose our identity. And if you don't have any identity in God, you don't have an identity at all. It's all a figment of your imagination.
I never
you very
think it's
much.
very effective
much.
to make a religious argument
Chair
for these
invites
things.
Yeah.
Well, I think, we all have our religions and everybody's is different, and that's why it's not effective. And I try to tell people this, like, you can't go in there waving your Bible around, because half the people there will be something else and they choose not to believe the Bible is true. I agree with, I might agree with that. Like, I think people do try to fill that hole. If you don't have a God in your life, you fill the hole with something else. You make your God something else. That's true. But I just think that there's so many arguments to be used here that have nothing to do with religion at all, that you don't have to bring it up.
Yeah, and it makes even religious people go, ugh, come on.
Yeah, I'm a religious person, and I'm like, no, don't.
Yeah, well, and then it starts the arguments. Well, just because I have a religion, does that mean I'm not ethical? I don't have morals, and then it goes off the rails.
And it puts people up. It puts their defenses up instead of being like, hey, we can all come together on this, no matter what background we're from, because we can just see that this is flat out wrong. I can stand arm to arm with an atheist on one side and a Wiccan on the other and be like, guess what? We all think this is terrible and immoral and wrong.
Well, in Ocean Away 007, thank you so much for the super chat, says, when I was in kindergarten in Michigan, my class wrote a note card and taped it to a balloon, and a grandma over 50 miles away wrote us back, did your kids do the Paper Stanley project, Boy or Girl Scouts? We had Boy Scouts.
Paper Stanley. I remember
that.
that.
Paper Stanley. I have like a 70-year-old friend that still does Paper Stanley.
My kids did that at the Catholic school they went to. They had a Stanley.
And Nicholas Starov, Union Rep Labor Law, again says, in what context is that meth line? Well, calling, the meth here, it was glorifying it, as you could tell. I was just saying meth is your best friend. It'll help you out of your problems, essentially, because some drugs are hard to redraw from because you love it more than anything. Just sit back and listen here, Nicholas. You'll see how the drug references go as this goes on. This is just a warm up. This was an aperitif here. This was your little glass of champagne as you walk in the door.
Yeah, this is nothing. Wait till we get to it. It's just like, what did Dante even imagine this circle of hell that we're in right now?
This is like the 10th level.
We're like at 10 now, maybe 11. I'm not sure, but even Dante couldn't have a nightmare this awful.
Well,
not even Hieronymus Bosch could paint a scene as disgusting as the one we're about to hear. And if you've seen any of Hieronymus Bosch's work, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, if we're getting biblical, Sodom and Gomorrah was taken out for a lot less than this.
Yep.
Let's go with the next speaker.
Is Sarah Burnell of Hollis to address the board.
All right, your 3 minutes begins now.
Yes.
These speakers
my
get
name is
progressively
Sarah
better
Bernal,
as they go.
And I am a mother in the community. And there were some...
She's kind of the last meh one in the group.
I'm sorry.
Right.
And there was
She's nervous, I
a
think.
particular concern with the literature regarding
Literature is a
very
generous
explicit
term.
material. If there's any children that are watching and in the room, the words that I'm about to read are very inappropriate. So if they would please have your children step out for a moment.
Yes, please have them
The
step
book that
out
I
before
wanna
we
talk
read
about
from
is
these
called
children's
Choke.
books.
That's one
Yeah.
of the books. There was a passage on number 134, page 134, that said, it's not as if mommy, with the idea of summoning the most powerful woman in history to give ham jobs, blow jobs, half and half, and run about the world. They just wanted sex. And there was another passage that on 135 that said, and no matter how much detail she put into session, she only wanted to pork and bone and slam and bump, shaft, hole, screw, drill, pound, pile drive, core, and ride. They only want.
See this?
I don't
just
even know
love
half
pile
these
drive.
terms.
This reminds me of like the closing credits to Grumpy Old Men when they're just trying to think, when Walter Matthau and Jack
Yes,
Lemmon are trying to think of
when
like the
they're-
worst possible euphemisms for sex.
You want a licky dicky? Remember?
Pile drive and
Well, I don't even know half of these terms, like half and half. Well, what is that? That's what I put in my coffee. That's the only context. That's the only context I understand that to be. Like, what are we talking about? Should we be giving terminology to children that not even all the adults understand? This is just people who are like addicted to hardcore porn, and I just don't know because I don't have these issues. I guess I don't want to know. By the way,
Yeah.
please don't anyone tell me what it means. I don't want to know.
yeah, well, it's just kind of.
Do you know? You know what it means,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah, just don't put it in your coffee. It's just like it's a term used for women of negotiable affections, where you allot your time 50% oral, 50% not oral.
For fuck's sake, people are so bored. They have to
Exactly.
come up
For
with
fuck's
this.
sake,
This
that's
is
exactly
just
why you have
ridiculous.
half and half. But yeah. So anyway, let's get back to the children's book talking about pile driving and half and half.
They wounded Emily Dickinson naked in high heels and one foot on the floor and the other up around her neck.
Don't do that to Emily.
There were mentions of
That necessary.
ass a count of 34 times. There was bitch in 3 different occasions. The word dick was mentioned 9 times. The word fuck was mentioned 24 times. Piss was mentioned twice. Shit was mentioned 50 times. And the words tit were mentioned twice. And I just feel like stuff like that should be more for the libraries and stuff outside of our school system. I don't think our children should have ready literature that accessible without parental guidance
Right.
or parental supervision or anything like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Ms. Burnell, could you please let us know which school that book is in? High school. Sure.
That was in the high school.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, remember, high school, 13, 14 years old.
Vicky Shane.
They're not all 17 and 18.
Yeah.
And even so, they can wait till they get to college for this
Hello,
kind
my
of
name is Vicky
degeneracy.
Shane,
Right.
and I'm a resident.
Now here's
of
where it gets
Buxton.
progressively worse.
Good evening, board members. I want to thank all of you for your service. I mean that sincerely. I think that this is at times a very thankless job.
It certainly is.
I'm here tonight to talk about some books that are in our middle and high school libraries.
Yeah, Mads, that was nothing. Strap
I
in.
chose
Or
a book
on.
that is in the middle school, and it's a
middle school. This next stuff coming out of her mouth is available to 7th graders or 6th graders.
6th graders, by the way,
Yeah.
in 6th grade, they're 11. 11-year-olds. Okay. I have an 8-year-old. And some of those kids, you don't know too, if the schools are combined, the little ones sometimes go in the middle school library. It's not
Yep.
always an elementary versus, I mean, I have found books that are for elementary students that have stuff like this that you would not believe. I would be out of my mind if my kid came across an 11-year-old. Jesus, what are we doing? Well, why don't we want these children to have a childhood? Childhood is so fleeting and it's so great. It's so wonderful to have that time where you are not burdened by the adult cares of the world. And when you don't understand taxes or sexual relationships and all the garbage that comes with them, there is a wonderful time that you only get to have for a short period of just a couple years, while the rest of your life you will deal with adult problems.
Right.
Who are these monsters that are trying to take away the childhood innocence of children, and why? I want to slap them all. I want to do worse than that, but I don't think I can say it.
Yeah, well, we can start with this, because again, this is stuff. What is going to come out of this woman's mouth is in a book that's available to 11, 12, 13-year-old children. And you don't need parents' permission to check these books out.
Particular interest to me because there is this cute dog on the front of the cover. It's in the middle school library. You know, I can think of 3 dogs that I have owned since my granddaughter has came into my life, and I'm down to one of those dogs. So she has a dog, I mean, in her life, but 2 of them have passed away. And this is a dying dog, recalls the memory of his life with his human family.
Where do you think this is going? It's going exactly where you think it's going. This is a dog's memory. The dog is dying. This is the dog's memory of his sexual experience with his family, his human family.
God.
And let's just rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. Listen to what we had like Clifford and
now you've put the image of Clifford in my mind with
this
awful stuff.
And we have to be careful with the pronunciation of Balto.
Yes, Balto. Balto was a great movie.
Those were the sentient dogs that I was reading about when I was a kid. But no, let's listen to this dog's life. With this cute little puppy on the cover that's available to 10 and 11-year-old children.
Okay, so what middle school child wouldn't want to take that book home or take that book out of the library? It's a memoir, after all, of a dying dog. And that, if I were a middle school student, I might find that very, I would think, I could think of Maggie, my dog that we lost a couple of years ago. But these are some of the things that the dog has seen. She was a teenager who had a full set of breasts for milking and hips wide enough for childbirth, and so was, for all intents and purposes, an adult who still acted like a child, always asking permission to do things. She shrugged off her robe and stood naked, her large breasts with their brown nipples pointing at him. He was unconscious. She reached down and slipped her small hands into the bands of his sweatpants. She pulled his pants down to his knees. "Don't," he muttered. He had driven for more than 10 hours across a harrowing course of snow and ice, flooding. He had nothing left with which to fend off the attack. She pulled his pants down to his ankles, then lifted one foot and then the other. I growled, I snapped. "I love you so much. I'm married," he said. "It's not like we're having sex." She crawled onto the bed, reaching for him, so I barked again. "Make the dog stop." Then he grabbed her wrist. She squirmed playfully. "I thought you liked me," Anika said, her mood abruptly darkening. "Anika, I thought you wanted me." He wanted to console her, but whenever he moved closer, she dropped her hands, which were clutching the crumpled robe, to her chest. Suddenly, her massive breasts, heaving with grief, were exposed to him, and he had to retreat. This happened several times. It's possible I was witnessing a living interpretation of an antique pornographic penny bank similar to the one I saw in a movie called The Stuntman, which depicted a bear copulating with a young girl on a swing.
Oh.
She got that one in just under the buzzer.
Oh.
Yeah, so great.
With a young girl, by the way, a bear with a young girl. What are we doing? What is this?
Yeah, this is a dog watching a grape of his owner or a family member and comparing it to a porno that the dog saw involving a bear copulating with a young girl on a swing. And this is for 11-year-old children. Somebody thought this was a fucking brilliant idea to put this book in the library.
You know, the adult books in the library are more appropriate than this. Some adult books,
Yeah.
let's say that, because we're going to get to one in a minute that's not so appropriate. But I mean, my God, what are we doing? I like how Prague Steve says erotic fiction has really gone downhill. It's not even stimulating, right? It's not.
50
These are
Shades
not
of Clifford.
penthouse. These are not penthouse letters. They're far worse. Far worse.
Well, exactly. And Kyle Bogue says, OMG, this school board is getting attacked by MAGA extremists. Call the feds. And J. Robine Law, welcome, sir. Deeply unhappy perverts. I mean, school admins. Well, I want to know who the librarian was that put this in there. Did they know the content?
I have that for you. Oh no, I have that for you later in the updates, Jeff. We have identified the librarian, and the librarian is part of the Rainbow Mafia, and also an American Library Association acolyte.
Fuck them right up the ass. We need Steph, the altar nerd, here to bring her cactus, cover it with chili oil, and shove it up their backsides.
I love her, by the way. She is a riot. We had the most fun last night on Steve's stream, taking over Steve's stream and talking about inappropriate female things. It was hysterical. We had a good time. Might have been the wine. It might have been the wine.
Go after the publisher and the press company. No, they have every right to publish. This isn't a textbook for children. This is a novel. It's a novel that apparently someone from the Alphabet Mafia decided that they would put in a middle school. The publisher has every right to publish.
Well, wait a minute though, Jeff. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure about that. I'm not sure that the publisher does. Let's look at it from a legal perspective and how the parents of New York are taking care of this and what they found in the codes. In the law. We have federal law and state law that says child pornography is any depiction, whether written or drawn, in depicting children in sexual situations. That means to write these things, and especially for children, could be a violation of federal law. According to the court, it could be deemed obscene, because what's obscene? The definition of obscenity is what's obscene by the community standard. If there's no community in this country that is going to all say together, yes, we think children should be given books on bestiality. That's against community standards. That's obscene. It's also illegal. Bestiality is also illegal. So you can't. I actually think that they could be violating state and federal laws, but they're not ever held accountable to it.
I think it would be a hard argument to make. I mean, because it's not specifically written for children.
Well, no, I think this book was.
Well, she was just saying it has a cute little puppy dog on the picture, so a child might pick it up.
No, what's the name of the book? I will tell you right now who it was written for. Do we have the name of the book? Oh, wait, I wrote it down.
Okay.
I'll get it. I'll find it, and I'll let you know. You can keep playing it. I'll look it up in a while. It's called The Art of Racing in the Rain. So let's find out, shall we?
Yeah.
I don't want my granddaughter to be able to pull out this book. I would very much like it to be removed from the library. It's disgusting. And that's just one of a few excerpts in this book. Thank you for your time.
Can you remind me what the title of the book was?
Yes, I'm sorry. I meant to do that.
If we just would have played it a few more seconds.
The title is The Art of Racing in the Rain.
And do we know how that is classified?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Amazon listing right now. I'm looking for the categories that they put it in. That's usually where you
Okay.
can find it. Okay, here it is. So category, it is a bestseller in books. It is family life fiction. Oh my Lord. Contemporary literature and fiction. It does not appear to be categorized as, reading age. Here it is, 13 plus. So
Oh,
it
Jesus
is.
Christ.
So it is. It's marketed to children. So there it is. So in my opinion, I actually think that doing this, there is an argument to be made that they are breaking federal law, obscenity law. And they need to be hauled in front of a judge.
I hate people. I really
But
do.
even so, and also, are you allowed in America to sell obscenity to anyone? I don't think so. I think that there is something called, there is such a thing as illegal porn, right? There is illegal porn. And it doesn't just have to be the child stuff. It can be obscenity. That's what the Supreme Court said.
Yeah, and that's the nebulous standard of lacking any serious literary value. And only being for prurient interest, and that gave birth to the famous phrase. I don't know how to
it when I see
define.
it.
Yeah, but I don't know how to define pornography, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Look,
kind of the community standard.
We have to have a higher community standard than this. This is, you want to see the cover? Sure, here's the cover. And the cover is so misleading. Here, let me share this with you, Jeff, so you can see this. The cover is so damn misleading. Oh, wait, let me close I've got my
You've seen the movie? There's a movie of this, Aaron? Wow. Okay. But
wait a minute.
It's not graphic.
No, it's okay. Wait, sorry. I'm trying to share this. I'm slow. Oh my, I'm on half a brain right now. Okay, there you go.
Bingo. It's smut. I thought you were talking about the bingo songs. This is, look at that. This old soul of a dog has much to teach us about being human. I love this book, says the author of Water for Elephants. Okay. Well,
somebody should be looking at Garth Stein's hard drive. It's another thing. These people who write these things, I think, God, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? That these are the things that you are imagining. That dog has seen things.
poor old dog. Okay. Now, for those the 717 of you that are here now, I bet you're hoping that was as bad as this gets. No, this continue. I think they specifically went in this particular order, because now we're really stepping it up with this next one. We're all right. Let's. I'll pump up the volume. Great movie. The volume a little bit here. Yeah. Oof.
You seem to be having the same difficulties I was. Jeff, it's not on the screen.
Oh, sorry. I was just watching it. I always do that. I just couldn't figure out which difficulties you were talking about.
You're boomering it.
No, see, I always do this, and it's always the same thing. Every time I bring it out of the way, I'm just watching the video. I'm not watching my own self, and I'm enthralled with what I'm seeing. And I guess everyone else would like to see it too, huh? All right, let's get back to her. Here we go.
I love this lady.
I'm following suit with what we're talking about tonight, which is one of the books that's in the high school library called The Boy Toy. I am going to disclose there is also vulgar language in this, so if there are any minors watching, please leave the
Boy
room
Toy.
if you don't want them to hear what's being said.
Boy Toy.
Recent events that have happened at MS86, I found this rather fitting. This book is about a 12-year-old boy who has been sexually molested by his 24-year-old female history teacher.
Let's continue. Just wanted to let that sink in a little bit. 14-year-old boy molested by his teacher.
Their sexual relationship, how she lures him in to trust her, is graphically described throughout this book, right down from their first kiss to oral sex, sexual intercourse, and actually watching a threesome porn movie together at the age of 12. I'm going to read you one excerpt from this I found rather disturbing. I learned every nook, curve, and niche of her body, every inch of smooth skin, every bump and turn. I learned what to touch, when to touch it, how to touch it, and for how long. I learned, and I watched her. I never ever stopped thrilling to the sight each time I saw her naked. Every time it was new, never boring, never old. She taught me how to make love, but she also taught me how to fuck, and she taught me the difference. We ended up doing more of the latter than the former. This is a 12-year-old, mind you. One time, in the panting aftermath of our afternoon session, she lay on the bed in unconscious imitation of that of a playmate from Zick's Playboy an eternity ago. I asked her, "What are your numbers?" And she looked at me and said, "Your numbers?" "What?" He said, "Your numbers." I gestured at her chest and her waist. "Oh, why do you care all of a sudden?" she asked. "Numbers are important." She relented at the seriousness in my expression. She took my hand and made me touch her breasts, her hip, her waist, as she recited 24, 26, 35. Are those good numbers? I really hope that you guys consider removing some of these books from the libraries as they're completely inappropriate. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, now, Jeff, I have something.
Yes.
I have something to share. By the way, I picked up that book on Amazon, and it is categorized in teen and young adult baseball and softball fiction, teen and young adult fiction on sexual abuse, and teen and young adult contemporary romance. Holy crap. The reading age is 12 years and up. And by the way,
So they want 12-year-olds to read about that shit.
yes, that's who it was written for. And by the way, I here's why she said it was particularly disturbing to her, because she said of the recent issues that Bonny Eagle has had. Let's bring up some of these recent issues. Oh wait,
Yes, I've seen a couple of these.
okay, Bonny. Hold on, here we go. Eagle teacher arrested. There have been two.
Yes.
One in 2017, the cheerleading coach of the Bonny Eagle School was arrested for sexual relationship or abuse of a student.
Mhm.
And that was in 2017.
Sort of kind of what was just described in that book.
No, I'll tell you what was just described in that book. The one that was just arrested this year.
The gym teacher, was it?
Kira McGlynn. Kira McGlynn is a 42-year-old woman. She was arrested in, I believe, was it March? Sorry, not May. We're not even in May yet. A Standish woman was arrested after allegedly engaging in sexual abuse involving a Bonny Eagle High School student. Kira McGlynn, 42, turned herself into the Portland Police Department on outstanding warrants for sexual abuse of a minor and tampering with a victim witness. Now, she was a substitute teacher. Here she is. She was on the active substitute teaching list for an indefinite period of time. And they removed her from that list after her arrest. Here she is. Isn't she lovely? This is the Bonny Eagle teacher who was doing exactly the things mentioned in the book to a student in that school. Now, I ask you a question, Jeff. If you were a sexual predator who wanted to prey on students in the school you work, what better way to groom them into it by providing them with a book that describes in a tittillating way what you want to do to them? This is what's happening.
Yep.
These people, and for the American Library Association to ignore completely the harm to the children that is coming from this type of thing. They are breaking down the sexual barriers of children. They're doing it purposefully, and they're doing it because of this. This is why they're doing it, because there's a bunch of adults who want to screw kids.
But you know from reading the articles about the aftermath of this that the American Library Association is not taking a disinterested stance on this issue.
Oh no.
They're supporting the fucking libraries.
They want the books. They're actually fighting for these books to continue to be given to children. in your school library. And by the way, the American Library Association is a bunch of pervs in a private organization that should have nothing to do with our public schools. They are a private organization run by radicals in Chicago who have nothing to do, who should have nothing to do with our public schools. They should get their disgusting, perverted fingers out of our schools. Go stick them somewhere else, American Library Association, because we don't want your crap in our schools. We don't want your leftist programming in our schools, which is what all of this is about. It is about politics and perverts. That's what this is about. And if you want to know the details of the American Library Association, how terrible they are, please pick up my book, Shut Up: The Bizarre War That One Public Library Waged Against the First Amendment. You can buy this on Amazon. It will tell you all about the disgusting nature of the ALA and what they have done. They've been doing this for years. Okay, I wrote this in 2016 with my writing partner, Kevin Dujon. He and I investigated the American Library Association for 3 years. We know what they are doing. These are a group of radicals. They have infiltrated this organization, and now they've infiltrated our public system. And this is the reason why this is happening. These people are nuts. These are the same people who are trying to remove the age of consent. They don't believe age has any meaning. And this has to stop. And I'm telling you, this book, I just got a whole shipment of these books, by the way. On my show, I'm going to be raffling off signed copies of the book of your choice coming up soon. We might do one today on True Crime Tuesday. So we'll see.
Well, listen to some of this stuff here from the chat here. Hugh Jass said, I remember an episode of Friends who wrote erotic lit for children. He was treated with shock and disgust. If the show were made today, he'd be Joey. Pretty much. The Dragon's Treasure, speaking of Steph, doing a charity thing with her and Popcorn Planet today for Make-A-Wish. 10% of all sales today go towards them. So use code VICES, give something back to him, and make a wish. Well, as long as I get my 10%. The dying kids can have them too. But anyway, I believe I will be on that stream too for a little bit, assuming that I can get a minute away from work. So yeah, tune into Popcorn Planet for some charity streaming later on in the day. Right on, Matt R. Thanks for sitting through this for us. I mean, like I said, I support reading. I support books. I like the fact that people are reading anything. And if there's some author that wants to put this down, these words in a book and sell it, fine, do it. If you want to buy this book, but don't put it in the fucking elementary, middle, and high schools. They can find this on their own if they want to. Don't give it to them. Don't put it there for them to check out. Don't encourage them to read this. Let them discover it on their own if that's what's going to happen. As Megan said, let the children have their damn innocence.
They only get it for such a short period of time. Why would you want to introduce these ideas into their heads to just confuse and scare them? It's true that if children are not ready for the talk about sex, it scares them. You don't want to scare them. Who are these people that want to scare them like this? And you want to know why young girls want to be boys? Maybe it's because of the extreme pornography aimed at women, making them believe they need to be like this, that they need to do these disgusting things that's described in this hardcore porn way. That's why these girls are having identity crises. Okay. They don't want to be that. No 11, 12-year-old little girl wants to be told that she's going to be used in this type of way, violent way. And that's why they're having mental disorders. Right. That's why they're rejecting their own puberty. Because they're terrified that if they go through puberty and develop sexually, they're going to have to participate in this. We owe it to the children to be realistic with them and stop this. Stop these ridiculous expectations that all little girls are going to be porn stars. Mm-hmm. Stop it.
Mm. Well, we do have another guest joining us here. It's Doggo Cam time.
Oh, yay.
eating a snack. Yoda took his little treat and walked out of the room because he's dumb. He doesn't understand people want to see him. He's brain damaged, kind of like some of these people. Mike Fenn, why would we hit the like button? Do we really want the algorithm to pick up on this? Not me. I do. People need to see this shit. This is the only way we're gonna. I don't want it to be demonetized, but if it does, I don't care, because I want people to see that this stuff is out there affecting their children. People need to understand, and Megan is the only one that I've seen talk about this. I've seen nobody talk about this. Even searching for the Bonny Eagle, Bonny Eagle School District, it brings up exactly 3 articles.
Are they all mine?
I mean, 3 news articles about what happened after this.
Oh, okay. Well, also, if you're looking for the best information on this, you got to go to courageisahabit.org, because Alvin Louis there is doing amazing work. He's working with the parents to help them get this out there, and everybody needs to share this information. Follow courageisahabit.org. Follow them on Twitter. It's at courageisahabit on Twitter. Or it might be Courage Habit. Hold on. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's where you're going to find all the information. Alvin's amazing. And, hopefully you'll get to have him on the program sometime and talk to him about the work he's doing. Because he's exposing this stuff all over the country, Jeff. Not just in, and he is consulting with parents. He's available for consult. So you call Alvin, and he's even flying to Maine. He flies all over the place helping parents organize and fight this. He's my hero.
And I definitely want to get him on here when there's another major development in this.
Oh, and there will be.
Yeah. This isn't gonna go away.
Mm-mm.
So for those of you that were offended by that this is like Jimmy Carr, the comedian Jimmy Carr, who does this. Okay, let's see where we can draw the line with offensiveness. And he starts out with a joke, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse until people stop laughing. And then he says, okay, everything up to that point was acceptable, but this isn't. This is kind of like that. This is kind of where you start going, holy crap. Well, if you haven't been doing that already. Next story.
Eric Lane.
I like Eric.
My name is Eric Lane. I live in Standish. I'm about to read from a book in the Bonny Eagle High School called Choke by Chuck Palahniuk.
And Chuck Palahniuk wrote Fight Club, in case you didn't know that.
Yeah, and he writes for adults, by the way. This is a book that is not categorized for children in any way. It was not written for children. The author did not intend it to be for kids. So you got to give him a pass on this. I don't give the writers who did write for kids a pass, but this one I do. This is fully on the librarian who chose this book for kids.
Right. I mean, even if you haven't read the book Fight Club, if you've seen the movie, it's not a kid's movie. It's not a kid's book. So this is reading from the book Choke, and it's in the high schools.
I recommend anyone under the age of 18 step out of the room or mute the audio of this public comment, although the school does provide it to children as young as 14 years old. Page 6.
So any of you that have 14-year-old kids, or were a 14-year-old kid and remember how emotionally developed you were not at 14 years of age, listen to this shit. And again, I've read Fight Club, and it was an awesome book. It was very, very adult, way more adult than the movie. And I'm assuming the same is the case for this book. So it may be an incredibly good book for you, me, someone else to read, but for a 14-year-old kid,
16. Tanya always smuggles in some rubber sex toy, usually a dildo or a string of latex beads, some sexual equivalent of the prize in a box of cereal. Page 18. For a sex addict, your tits, your dick, your clit, or tongue or asshole is a shot of heroin, always there, always ready to use. Nico bears down hard, bucking my dog against the front wall of her insides, using 2 wet fingers on herself, her big flower print breast, the juice coming off her is scalding hot. Page 28. Of course, he ripped out of his mind on ecstasy. She goes to jerk off some lucky cow all afternoon. That, and all I know, she lets the king constable feel her up because one time he let me sniff his fingers. Even from here, Even over the horse shit, you can smell the reefer coming off her in a fog. Milking cows, churning butter. For sure, you know milkmaids just give great hand jobs. Page 72, make her play the big passive bottom in your guilt gangbang. She'll take everybody's load. After everybody's humped out their load in her face, they're all smiling and humming.
I have nothing to say.
I mean, for fuck's sakes, they're letting 14-year-old kids in libraries read this.
It's absurd.
This is way beyond penthouse letters.
This is
Way
not
beyond.
even something that I want in my adult brain. You know, I wish I had never heard it. I am a worse person for having heard that, for having those mental images in my head.
Page 102, the girl before this one, another blonde, but with the kind of hard, old-fashioned boob job you could chin yourself on. This last patient smoked a cigarette as part of her act, so I asked if she had any persistent back or abdominal pain. She gets down on her hands and knees, rotating her open butt, her puckered pink trapdoor in slow motion, and looks back over her shoulder at us as she says, "What's this connotation scene?" Page 136, it wasn't sex. She was just our tour guide for a wet dream, a hypno lap dancer. Each guy kept his pants on for damage control, containment. The mess went away way beyond just Peter tracks. His crotch would tent up. Feel yourself growing longer and thicker. Already you're harder and heavier, more purple and throbbing than you've ever felt. Page 154. Sorry, I fucked her cat. Page 160.
What? Can I just ask, Jeff, is this supposed to be... I'm sure that this author, you know, has talent. Obviously, this was made into a movie, so is Fight Club. But like, is he writing this to be... is this supposed to be a turn on? Because I just feel disgusted. Maybe that's the point. Maybe you're supposed to feel disgusted.
I would guess that's the point.
Oh, but I mean,
the thrill of disgust. But yeah, I mean, we had a dog. Well, not the cat. We had the dog before up against the wall 25 seconds ago. Now we've got the cat involved in that.
No, it's like, I guess people are just so bored. You know, that we've reached new levels of degeneracy. There's no place else to go. I guess that's how it feels.
58. Just a puss-pounding, seam-reaming, dog-driving, fucking helpless sex addict asshole, and I can't ever let myself forget that. Page 186. The truth is, sex isn't sex unless you have a new partner every time. You don't get the full anesthetic quality of good first-time anonymous sex. Page 210. Stuffing dick, stuffing feelings. Plugged in deep, I reached around her. Forced in tight. I reached around her to twist a content, hard-pointed nipple in each hand. Lisa grips the case of toilet paper and hacks and coughs. And with my hands, I feel her abs spasm rock hard and rippling between my fingers. The muscles of her pelvic floor, the pubococcygeus muscles, called the PPC muscles for short, they spasm, and the clenched drag on my dog is incredible. There is much more inappropriate material in this book. And I wonder for parents who don't want their son or daughter reading about a gangbang humping a load on a woman's face, what mechanisms are there in place to keep this book out of their hands? Thank you.
By the way, pause for a second, Jeff.
Yeah.
I want everybody to keep this in mind. Have you heard anyone being disrespectful to the board so far? And continue listening to hear if you hear any disrespect, because that's going to play into the response from the American Library Association.
Mike Fan says, "Oh, we already did that one. Sorry, that's why we would do it, because we want people to see this." Jess Ann, thank you so much for the super chat. My daughter bought that book, Racing in the Rain, at a school book fair when she was 8.
Oh Jesus, 8! Oh my God!
At a school book fair.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that our society is so stupid that it would put a book like that where an 8-year-old could. That makes me want to cry. I have an 8-year-old. This is so unacceptable. It's so unacceptable that this could ever get into the hands of an 8-year-old, and everyone just kind of goes meh.
Yeah. Well, Shannon Seven says the most we had was Forever and the Flowers in the Attic books when I was in junior high. Holy smoke! Right?
Yeah.
And we thought those were racy as shit.
Right.
Yeah, the Flowers in the Attic. We passed that around.
Incest. Yeah. That was still gross. That was a gross book.
Jason J, thank you so much for that generous super chat. Megan, if you're in Wisconsin, read up on the 34-year-old female teacher here in Two Rivers that was sentenced to 3 months in jail for what she did to a student for 2 years, and she doesn't have to register as an offender either.
Ugh.
Just some sick shit out there, and you know. Just Dawn, Soulless Ginger says, please, for the love of everything good and holy, release the doggos. I need the greatness. Thank you, Daddy Vices. Well, Strawberry's just sort of like power moving the furniture around. She's apparently not very smart either. I have medium smart dogs.
Medium smarts. Well, that's all. You know what? Medium smart's good
Yeah.
enough, Jeff.
It is. It is.
It's what we aim for.
And thanks for exposing this child abuse in our schools. Now, this, thank you for that, John Gary. And Lacey Pettit asks a question that I've been asking this entire time. Who brought their child to this meeting?
Yeah, I don't understand why whoever did that didn't take her out immediately, because this is not okay for anyone's kid to hear, not even mine. And I told my daughter, because she sometimes watches my channel, I said, if you ever see an age restriction on a video of mine, I have put that there for a reason, and I do not want you watching it. It's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's 17, and she says, okay, Mom, I won't, because I don't need this in her head. None of these kids, and maybe maybe this poor kid has already been exposed to all of this because of the public school system. I don't know, but I wish that they had not brought her.
Yeah, and Flux says this smut is disgusting. And also, I had God's will for me body.
Crap, we got to move it along. 10:23. What the heck?
I know. We do
We're
kind
in
of have to
trouble.
move this around here. Why is this writing hilarious? Forget it's for kids and put that in any other romance book. This writing is always so hacky and hilarious. His big, hot, hard throbbing sausage, LMAO. Right. It's not exactly high literature. But,
exactly. No literary value. Would you say maybe no literary value? Yeah. I mean, it's just everybody knows what smut is. You know it when you see it, and this is definitely it.
Pin King says, "Can I puke?" Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, as long as
We'll
we don't
allow
have to see
it.
Yeah. Ugh, people. And Ron, a member for 5 months of the Bent Halos and Broken Wings, says this content should be age restricted from the restricted. Pretty much.
Thank you.
School. The book I'm about to read to you is located in your middle school and also your high school. It is called Me and Earl and a Dying Girl.
Yeah.
I did extend story time to Janet Mills in Wyndham, RSU 14, and I'd like to re-extend it here to your school district as well. She refuses to answer any of my emails.
Bitch.
Goes like this. Are you going to eat her pussy? Yeah, Earl, I'm going to eat her pussy. Huh, yeah. Do you even know how to eat pussy? Not really. Papa Gaines never sat you down and said, son, one day you're going to have to eat that pussy. No, but he did teach me how to eat butthole. God bless that man. Yep. I would teach you some pussy eating techniques, but it's a little complicated. Son, I don't have time for all that. I've got like 20 pussies over here that need to be eaten. Is that right? I'm on pussy deadline. I've got 20 vaginas all lined up in a row. What the hell? No one's talking about vaginas, Greg. What the hell is wrong with you? Man, that's just nasty. I'm talking about pussy. I've got a little honey mustard here and a little bit of Heinz 57 and a whole lot of pussy. The next book is Later Gator. I remember the pole dancing party, Snow Angel. Well, the sex toy party is part of the whole lineup, and Aunt Sadie finally agreed.
This is the grooming shit
and it's
right
set
here.
For next Thursday. Anyways, Emma,
remember
she's
Butt
the sex
Plug
toy
Dean?
woman, and she has been calling endlessly to pester Aunt Sadie about details. Would Aunt Sadie be willing to pose in lingerie?
Oh my God.
How many pairs of handcuffs should she bring? What about S&M? If you don't know the definition of SM, it is deriving pleasure of a sexual nature.
Now
from the
listen to this
infliction
grooming
of physical
shit right
or psychological pain on one person or another. Back to the book. Zoe girl, good. Good God, are they actually going to try this stuff out at the party? Snow Angel, the idea is to normalize the sex toys so that the women want to take them home to spice up their sex lives. But Aunt Sadie's insisting that Emma only bring the catalog. She can do a pole dance here for her innocent niece, but she's too embarrassed to pass out the vibrators. So I type back, 5 p.m. is great, but I changed my mind about the dildos. Bring lots and all sizes. So Emma's going to show up next Thursday with a humongous bag of dildos. I also hope that you guys step up here and do what's right and get this shit out of your library, because there will come a day when this law will end up coming down, where cartoon depictions of sex and all this shit will end up being a Class C felony, and you will serve up to 5 years
See,
in
this
prison
is it.
and up to a
Yep.
$5,000 fine.
This is it.
Yeah.
That's it right there. We have laws in this country, damn it, and you will follow them
Thank you.
or you will go to jail. And if you don't, if the
Nicole
law does
Hart.
not step up and actually do something about this next guy that comes up,
Nicole
I think
Hart,
he's next, or
your
a
ethical
couple of
promise
dads
is
later
defined
is
in
what you're
school
going to
policies
get.
Mm-hmm.
And laws are in serious question as to your ability to teach, protect, and safeguard. LGBTQ trans rights and policies have been in place pre-pandemic, so anti-trans and anti-LGBT narrative is completely false. Per the CDC, there is a severe mental health crisis from the impact of the pandemic, which has placed students at greater disadvantages of vulnerability, even more so for students who already face these challenges. We did not see our schools preparing for this mental health crisis upon their return back. We observed schools preparing for the over-sexualization of our children with sexually explicit pornographic books and the indoctrinating into a particular trans cult movement, which is just the gateway drug to what's coming. I am a member of the LGBT community, and it is demoralizing and degrading that you continue to push these sexually explicit books and sexual symbols on students as equity and inclusion. The rainbow flag is a sexual symbol, as is the pineapple is for swingers. This is not equity or inclusion. This is teaching students that the LGBT community is nothing but a mere sexual object, and that the extent of their value is nothing more than that.
Yep.
I suffered from gender dysphoria since the age of
Preach.
7 and still struggle today with my sexual identity, not only due to the
Oh,
severe
this poor
sexual and
woman.
mental abuse I endured within my LGBT
Jesus.
community at a young age, but also from the social and economic marginalization we still endure today. I know the red flags of grooming, desensitizing, sexualization, exploitation, and victimization because I was a victim at the hands of trusted, safe people through Boston Alliance of Gay and Lesbian Youth, where predators amongst them preyed upon my vulnerabilities for their gain. If it wasn't for saving grace who rescued me, taught me self-acceptance, and it's okay to be gay, I may not be where I am today. The schools may appear to be protected by the loopholes in the main law for possession of sexually explicit materials, but it appears they are not protected under the sexual exploitation of minors. Pushing and providing sexually explicit pornographic books to minors, placing one protected class over another, segregating children by their sexual identities, creating safe spaces, displaying flags, posters that only identify LGBTQ students and excluding students who don't identify as such, implementing policies and procedures that is alienating a child's parental support, sexual harassment by requesting and pressuring sexual identities, preferences, pronouns, creating hostile
It is
environment,
harassment.
forcing peer pressure and harassment.
This is
among
Maine, the
students,
state of Maine.
using your power and control over a student's academics, placing them in fear of the impacts, receiving funding, donations, and grants based upon pushing cell before core academics and so on. No child should ever have to be placed in a position where they feel their academic futures are in jeopardy, nor should they ever be exploited in any way by safe adults whose ethical oaths are only to provide for their core academics. Children deserve to just be kids, and your focus needs to be prioritized on their core academics, which current test scores prove that. Thank you.
Yeah, that woman is solidly based. Bless her.
She's
And
not
like I
the
said-
only one who came from the gay community
Yeah.
who has that same story, by the way.
Napolitano.
Kids of the gay community. It's
And it was
very
no
sad.
accident. She just said LGB community.
Yeah. Without the
Hello,
TQ plus
Napolitano from Wyndham.
weirdos.
And we got to interrupt a blue Freddy Krueger here for just a quick second to burn through this super chat. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say, when I say burn through super chats, it upsets people. It makes them think I don't appreciate it. I mean, read the super chat.
Well, we are on a
so that we
time
can
crunch
continue.
today,
Yeah.
folks.
So, can parents just take white out to these books?
They should.
They yeah.
This is one of those moments where we don't have time to dither. It's time to act. It's time
Right.
to act.
Absolutely. And Tigger says, thanks for your kind words yesterday. My son is now in ICU room and doing fine. I'm so glad his surgery went well. That's very, very good news, Tigger. Thank you to everyone in chat for your kind thoughts and prayers too. I hope he's there an absolute short amount of time and things go well. I'm happy that things went well. Thank you so much for giving us that update, Tigger. Now back to Blue Freddy Krueger.
Homeschooling is exploding in this district. Good teachers are quitting for being forced to teach social emotional learning and support.
And that's right there is why. I did want to read this here from Brad Best, a 6-month member of the Clean and Sober crew. These parents should be taking their kids out of their schools ASAP. No excuses. Your kids are being groomed and still sending them to the school. WTF. But see, to me, if you take your kids out and you leave the problem there for it to continue and fester, that's the problem.
That's the problem. We cannot
right.
abandon more institutions to this crazy ideology. There are more of us than there are of them, and we need to show them this. We need to take back the schools for all the children. And if you're a homeschooler and you are sitting at home on your butt and you're not helping these parents who have no other choice but to put these kids in these cesspools, you need to rethink what you're doing and what your motive is. Because if you're just saving your kid, you are not taking into consideration the children that your child will eventually be adults with and be dating. Okay. So if you want the world to be a safer place for everybody, you need to get up and help us get this crap out of the public school.
And see, and that's the thing, you have to dig this out at the root. You have to make it safe for your kids and every other kid that sets foot in that school. That's what has to, the change has to be in a meaningful way, not just removing yourself from it and allowing it to continue.
For inappropriate sexual content with students, minors. So what is happening in the Bonny Eagle Middle School library? So there's a book called Nick and Charlie. It's loaded with overwhelming graphical sex acts and a lot more, such as, quote, we should get drunk. It encourages stealing your parents' wine and drink vodka lemonade. I want to get drunk, hook up in the bathroom later. I quickly discover drunk kisses are not fun when one person is sober. It doesn't take a lot for me to get drunk, which is extremely useful for situations like this where your 13s are everywhere. Have sex in pillow forts. Gotta bang as many people as you can. Words used multiple times in the book, such as cock, dick, the F word 21 times, the S word 12 times. Is Nick and Charlie educational? Do you consider it resourceful for kids? I mean, we're talking 6th graders, right? You're responsible for giving 6th graders access to this material. Do you even know what's in your schools? At least 90 books in your high school and 55 books in the middle school are inappropriately aged. So these
Did you
books
catch that
arrived
number
at MSAD 6
No,
during the
I didn't.
So these books arrived, 5 books in the middle. What's in your schools? At least 90 books in your high school and 55 books in the middle school are inappropriately
It's
aged.
145 books.
So these books arrived at MSAD 6 during the recent COVID lockdown when no one was watching.
Oh, really?
Books that encourage underage drinking, minors having unsafe sex, how to never have drunk sex with someone sober, how to snort cocaine to enhance a sexual experience, pornography, bestiality, instruction for both oral sex and anal sex, child molestation, rape, and incest, and accessible for 6th graders. Would you host story time in your neighborhood, invite all the children over and share these books? Or would you even bring them in your church and give it to your youth group? Well, of course you wouldn't, because you'd be called a pedophile and you'd be arrested. I suggest Bonny Eagle sponsors a DARE program. I notice you don't have one.
You pay for the book. Taxpayers pay for the books.
Is a police offered led series of classroom lessons that teaches children from kindergarten through 12th grade on how to resist peer pressure and live a productive, drug and violence-free life. Try that approach. Children are confused and searching. It's always been that way.
Yeah, we used to have
Snowball.
Remember
Is
that?
academics. The parent's job is to parent. So the decisions that you make on this board affect all children in this district. The school needs to stay in their lane and let the parents parent. Thank you.
Yep.
When I spoke at the last meeting, and I spoke in regards to my concern of our focus not being in the right place based on our academic testing scores. I was talking about this with one of my sons. And he told me that a lot of the students taking tests given for school testing will just breeze through and answer whatever they want. So with that being said, just like a lot of the information gathered from surveys given in school, academic testing data is not correct either. So I'm asking the board what we can do as a district to change that. Are we able to give academic tests that will actually go towards a grade?
Are we able to use tests already given to satisfy state and federal testing?
All right, let's fast forward through her.
AP classes. More six will help act more focus.
Back in middle school next year, and I'm going to read a passage from one of the book Lucky that is in the high school.
The book Lucky. Listen to this shit.
Yeah. He began to knead his fist against the opening of my vagina, inserted his fingers into it 3 or 4 at a time. Something tore. I began to bleed there.
Oh my
I was
God.
wet now. It made him excited. He was intrigued as he worked his whole fist up into my vagina and pumped it. He kicked me and I curled into a ball. I want a blowjob. He held his dick in his hand. I've never done it before, I said. I'm a virgin. Put it in your mouth. I kneeled before him. Can I put my bra back on? I wanted my clothes. I saw his thighs before me, the way they belled out from the knee, the thick muscles and small black hairs and his flaccid dick. He grabbed my head. Put it in your mouth and suck, he said. Like a straw, I said. Yeah, like a straw. I took it in my hand. It was small, hot, clammy. It throbbed
This is
involuntarily
sexual
at my
trauma.
touch. He shoved my head forehead and I put
They're
it in. It touched
traumatizing
my tongue.
kids.
The taste like dirty rubber or burnt hair. I sucked in hard. Not like that, he said, and brought my head away. Don't you know how to suck a dick? No, I told you, I said. I've never done
This
this
is
before.
CIA
Bitch, he
monarch
said. His
programming
penis
is
still
what
limp.
this
He
is.
held it with 2 fingers and peed on me. Just a little bit. I cried wet on my nose and lips. The smell of him, the fruity, heaty, nauseated smell clung to my skin. So my question is with these books being in the library, how are these books supposed to support student curriculum? How does it do that? How
Seriously,
does
what
it
the
enrich
fuck was
student
that?
education? I ask that
CIA
these
monarch
books please be
programming.
removed from the library.
Trauma, MK Ultra. Yes. MK Ultra programming. That's what that is. They're traumatizing children through
Ugh.
these books.
I mean, that's fucking sick.
Michael Lowell.
And we want to know why kids have so many mental disorders.
Yeah.
This is why.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all you people, and I say to myself,
I love this
you guys
man.
don't have a clue. I mean, I was going to read a book, but the reality of it is there's enough people reading this stuff to you. If you're parents, you're adults. Call yourself grown-ups. You should know better. What are we doing to our children? You guys grew up, most likely, in this lovely state of Maine. I grew up in the inner city. I've seen what, the stuff you're reading about. It's what my life was like.
Mm.
Do you really want this for your children? Do you really want your kids to live some of the stuff that's going on in these books?
Pause for a
Here's what
second,
they'll
Jeff.
do.
Pause for a second. Because here's what the American Library Association will say. They will say that, the dog is snoring and it is totally cracking me up right now. But they will say, the American Library Association will say that because of a man like this who had these experiences, that these books are relevant to some children's journeys, and that's why they must stay in the libraries. But here's a man who actually did live this and is saying, you don't want this for your children. You don't want what I went through. So here's someone who did have that journey and is saying this is not valuable. No. So that's the argument against the American Library Association saying all
Right.
journeys are valid.
Yeah, well, John Gordon says someone call Gary Plosh. He'll take care of this. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. But we could use the killdozer about now.
God.
Yeah, the snoring is the dog. Zzz. One is snoring, one's chewing on a toy.
They're so cute.
I mean, really, where's your common sense? Kids are going to be kids. We're stealing their youth.
Mm.
You're stealing their youth. Every one of you are sitting here who vote on these things. You think that it's okay. You think that your kids should be reading this stuff. You think it's okay for this kind of stuff to be in the libraries. It's not. Native Son. It's in your middle school. That was a book that I read in high school in my African American studies and American history studies. You guys don't teach that. So why have the book in there if you're not going to teach it? You should be ashamed of yourselves. These kids need to be kids. When do we stop making our kids adults? You're not their friends. You're your parents. You're the adults. Start acting like the adults. This stuff is not helping our kids. This is not about the LGBTQAFE whatever movement. It has nothing to do with any of that. And even that, they're kids. Do we not understand this?
No, we
Is
don't.
it that hard
Clearly.
for you guys to figure out that our children are our future? How farther south do we have to go before we realize that we're going in the wrong direction?
But see, they do realize they're
Every
doing it
year.
for a reason.
We drop
Yep. Right.
nationally in education. It's the greatest country in the world. Greatest country in the world. And what are we doing? We're becoming one of the worst countries in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are laughing at us now in other countries.
Look what we're contributing to the world as far
Right.
as culture goes. We are contributing garbage to the world. No wonder everyone hates us. I hate us too.
Thank
I
you.
hate it too.
Are there any additional members of the public who wish to address the board?
You can't argue with Putin when he says things like America
Yeah.
is disgusting. Yeah. Like
I'm Bill
America is
Donalds.
grooming
I have a
kids.
son that goes to HB Emory.
We'll just do one more here and then we'll wrap this up
Won't be
with
too
the
much longer. He'll be
talk.
in middle school and he'll get a hold of some of these books.
I think you should skip it to the one with the AK-47
I
on the
definitely
shirt.
don't want my son to get any of these.
The AK-47 guy.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Love him. He's wearing a pedophile hunter
Yes,
shirt.
he is.
And I
All right.
guarantee you they're going to say they were threatened by him.
Right.
Evening. My name's Adam Zajac. I'm from Windham, Maine. I've been dealing with this in Windham for a couple of months now. My son was the one who read the book Nick and Charlie. He's 11 years old and he found that book in his middle school. And like Steven said, that book is highly inappropriate for middle schoolers. I've been watching you guys as people have been reading, and I gotta say, I don't play poker, but you guys got a really good poker face. I don't know how anybody can't cringe when they listen to what these books are in the library. And, you know, the silent majority is starting to wake up, and they're starting to come out in droves. And this is a really small group here tonight, and it's only going to get worse. Just ask how I know, because it's happening in Windham and parents are getting pissed. So the best thing that you could do right now is get ahead of this by pulling the books that parents are discussing right now and they're upset about, and going to do reviews, proper reviews of the books. It takes a long time with these IJJ processes. Do yourselves a favor, take them off the shelves right now. Show these parents that you actually care about what they're saying, and review them and take all the time you need, but don't leave them on the shelves, because I can tell you right now, what's coming is going to be bad. Parents are standing up and they are getting pissed. And if you think this is a big amount of people, you haven't seen anything yet. Everyone's waking up, and I really hope you guys come to your senses. And you know what, Bonny Eagle, I think it'd be great for you guys to make an example out of this and show the leadership in the school systems in Maine. Wake up, make it happen, bring good news to the community. Because I can tell you right now, all that Windham is bringing is a lot of disgrace to the town and the community in Windham. So I'm not going to waste any more time, but I really hope you guys consider what I said tonight and make some good choices from here and decide what's right. Thank you.
Well, and this goes on for about 10 more minutes. But we've got to wrap this up because Megan is going to be interviewing Solomon Anderson here in about 12 minutes. So spend like the next 6 or 7 minutes giving you a quick update. I want to read a quick article, and then Megan can give us the extra details here on the way out.
Sure.
Freaking this, you've been hearing us talk this entire time. This shit just does not belong in any school anywhere. Wait till they're adults. Let them buy it with their own money. Whatever. Okay, here's the deal. Bonny Eagles, remember there was 145 books that they said were age inappropriate. Bonny Eagles School District temporarily removes 8 books from library pending review. After hearing complaints from parents that the books contain inappropriate content, the board took the unusual move of removing them before undertaking a review process. So they were surprised by this. And that's one of the things that someone here in chat was asking. So just catching up. Love your channel, Legal Vices. Keep it up. Well, thank you, Rachel Hope. Bernstein Englehart. Robert Lawrence. Did these school board members know about these books? 99% sure they did not. They weren't aware. Because the school board doesn't get involved in the day-to-day operations of the school. That's what the school administration is for. But when it's brought to their attention like this, they should act. So I mean, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they have no idea what's there, and they don't know unless it's brought to their attention. But it has been brought to their attention now. So now there's no excuse if they don't act on it. The Bonny Eagle School District voted to temporarily remove 8 books from the district libraries on Monday night after community members said the books contain inappropriate content and asked the board to review them. The move is unusual because school districts, including the Buxton-based Bonny Eagle District, typically keep books being challenged or reviewed in libraries until the process is complete. But in this case, the main school administrative district board voted 7-3. 3 fuckers wanted these books to remain in there, while the superintendent reviews them, bypassing his own policy. Paul Welch, Ellen Decoitis, and Erica Kreutz.
Her last name is Coitus. Oh my goodness.
Well, Coitus. We'll go Decoitis. So notice this. 2 women, which I think is shocking to me. 2 women voted for their children to be allowed to have this.
It's always the women.
Right.
Women make everything terrible. Sorry, but
the books include Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera, a story about a gay Puerto Rican college student from the Bronx trying to find her identity. Choke by Chuck, I can never pronounce his name, Palinchuk, a book about a sex addict who resorts to being a con artist to support himself. And Push, a book by Sapphire, about an illiterate 16-year-old who is raped and impregnated by her father and beaten by her mother. But with the help of a devoted teacher, learns to write and pursues an education and learns to tell her own story. In Maine and around the nation, books challenged have surged in recent years. Historically, fewer than 1 book was challenged per year in the state. According to the Maine Library Association's intellectual freedom chair and private librarian, Samantha Duckworth, well, she can just go duck herself. But last year, there were at least 12 challenges, and the first 2 months of 2023, there were 8. Nationally, there were 681 book challenges involving 1,651 titles in the first 8 months of 2022. In 2000, the first year the association started tracking the issues, 378 books were challenged. So it's increasing. But on Monday night in Buxton, around a dozen parents and grandparents stood up and read graphic passages from books in an apparent effort to show school board members why they should be removed. I don't want my granddaughter to be able to pull out this book, and I would very much like it to be removed from the library. It's disgusting, said Vicky Shane. That was the Art of Racing in the Rain about the dog and whatnot. The other books were temporarily removed, called The Boy Toy by Nicola March, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, Later Gator, Lucky, and Me. Lucky was the last horrific shit that we listened to, the really, really bad one. Lucky. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl and Lucky were on several lists of the most banned books in 2022 and in the 2021-2022 school year. Discussions of book reviews or removals was not initially on the agenda, but after hearing from public commenters, the board voted to discuss removing the books at the end of the meeting, and they bumped that to the beginning there. So temporary removal prevailed. Board members shared a range of opinions about the removal. But this is Kreutz. This is one of the women that voted to keep the books there. I'm uncomfortable with the board taking action in this manner. We have a policy, and I understand the board has the ability to suspend its own policy to move things forward, but to what end? Bitch. I think at least some of the books that were brought forth tonight by the audience certainly are worthy of a second look, but I think they should go through the proper channels. They voted 10-1 to keep It's Perfectly Normal, Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex, Gender, and Sexual Health. Okay.
Which has cartoon depictions, by the way, of not only adults having sex, but kids in sexual situations. It's disgusting. That book is not perfectly normal. It's perfectly pedo.
Right. It sounds perfectly normal, but if you click this link where the parents argue that some of his contents were pornographic, what Megan just said is there. Kreitz also noted that the passage read by public commentators were cherry-picked and that the book shouldn't be removed based on passages read out of context. Show me the right fucking context for any of that shit. That an 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12-year-old should be.
Or 13 or 14 or 15-year-old. What context makes it okay for any of us really to be reading that? What context? Like, if you want to be a degenerate adult, fine. I don't care, but don't do this to my kids.
What's the right fucking context for that, Megan?
There's no context that makes it okay to tell little kids about bestiality. Now, bring up what I just shared with you, Jeff. This is the response by the American Library Association. Now, you notice that it says Maine Association of School Libraries. This is an offshoot of the American Association of School Librarians, which is an offshoot of the American Library Association. They stick their nose into every single one of these arguments, and they get between parents and the school boards, and they try to intimidate the school boards into stopping listening to the taxpayers and their constituents. By the way, school board members are put there by the constituents. They are voted in. The people they should be listening to are those people at the meeting. They have no obligation to the American Library Association or their acolytes. I'm not going to read this entire thing, but let me just show you what it says here. We recently learned that you decided to remove 8 books from your school libraries without following your district's established IJJ policy and process for reviewing educational materials. We watched the recording of the board meeting from April 3rd and observed that emotions were very elevated and you were subjected to some very negative and disrespectful comments by public commenters.
Oh, fuck off.
No, they
off.
weren't. They were all very respectful. You all saw that. Not one
Fuck
of
right
them.
off.
Not one of them was disrespectful. So they're lying right off the bat. We should note that processes like the IJJ policy you have in place are, of course, established for precisely this sort of circumstance when disputes arise within a community over whether or not a book is appropriate for inclusion. Without such policies, responsible parties can find themselves subject to pressures brought to bear by the loudest, most influential, or most powerful members of a community without regard to the merits of those people's case.
A library association, everything we just listened to for the last hour, I hope fucking happens to every one of you.
Right? Whether or not those books belong in your middle school or high school library, they should be judged individually on their own merits, not summarily removed in the heat of an emotionally charged moment. So we're going to see, not once in this letter do they mention the harm to children that might be done by this kind of garbage, right? Not once do they mention children or parents or their wishes at all. Not once. What they do though is get up on their soapbox and they embrace the Constitution and the First Amendment, which is what they always do. This
last paragraph is the one that pisses me off.
One of the U.S. Constitution's
the one above that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We also noted with dismay that many of the individuals who spoke so disparagingly of your district at the meeting appeared to have come from outside of your community. No, they didn't. Half of them were there who have kids in the school. Another couple of them, probably not even half, came from neighboring districts where this is happening there as well. That last guy, AK-47 guy, comes from like the neighboring district. Nor was this simply a grassroots intervention by concerned parents. That's not true. Speaking about books that they themselves had encountered, also not true. Rather, they were reading from a script provided to them by a well-funded national political group with results that have been seen in school board meetings around the country. They're blaming Moms for Liberty for telling you what's in the books. They don't want Moms for Liberty making slick sheets about what's in the book and cheat sheets. They want you to have to go as a parent who has a full-time job and are trying to raise your kids to go to the library and read every damn book that they selected. That's what they want you to do. They don't want you to use Moms for Liberty's resources or Courage as a Habit's resources. But fuck them, because this is called community organizing. And this is what we are now doing, because we took a note from your playbook. Okay, this is how you do it. And there's nothing wrong with Moms for Liberty putting together slick sheets.
That's right. And you should ignore this. You should let those books in your school, because not because they have good content, not because they're helpful to your children, but because someone that they disagree with politically told you what's in those books. And they're literally criticizing the parents for not reading these books themselves.
Yeah, ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And this is by Heather Perkinson, by the way, pervert Heather Perkinson, who wants to put books with bestiality in it in front of your kid. She wants your kid to read about bears copulating with little girls, and she thinks that that's okay. She wants that. It's contextually relevant for some reason. It's the First Amendment, she says. It protects intellectual freedom of free speech to let little children read about fucking dogs.
And cats.
And cats. Don't forget cats.
Okay, don't forget the cats.
And fisting.
Cat lives matter. Oh, fuck.
I mean, come on. As public elected officials, you have a sacred duty to support the Constitution. What about their sacred duty to protect the kids under their fucking control? How about not sexually abusing the kids in their control, but through this mental abuse, which is what it is, mental sexual trauma abuse. They're traumatizing children every day, but with this bullshit. And you know what? The Bonny Eagle School District made the right decision by removing the books, and they shouldn't even have to go through them. They shouldn't even have to review them. They're going to review them now, and I guarantee you that half of them make it back up on the shelf, because they're going to say that in context, it has some literary value and shouldn't be taken out, or it's inclusive. It's inclusive and diverse, which is how they hide pornography on the shelves.
We've ranted about this for 2 hours now, and Megan needs to get going with Solomon and start that stream. Just two more quick things, and we will wrap this up. One, Duncan, Idaho, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. The ALA is actually evil. This is completely nuts, and the people responsible for making this literature available to kids should be afraid. I want to end this with one of my favorite quotes, and it's from Star Trek: The Next Generation, but it literally sums up this.
Coward without the moral courage to prevent an atrocity. You offend me.
You just listen one more time. A coward who lacks. Fuck it.
Coward without the moral courage to prevent an atrocity. You offend me.
Without the moral courage to prevent an atrocity. You offend me. That's all I got to say to the stupid library association. And these board members, you guys got to do your job as a board member. I mean, it would be a very, very quick review process on the board that I'm on. So
I sent you the link to redirect, yes. And I'm also sending you the invite link in the private chat as well, so you can join me over there. And we'll see you over on my channel.
And loaded. All right. We'll just wrap this up. Megan, thank you for being here. I'll see you over there in a couple of minutes.
All right.
Guys, thank you so much for being here for this important stream. This is absolute nonsense. And again, I am not saying that these books should not be published. I'm not saying that these books should not be printed. I'm saying that your tax dollars, as for those of you that are in the United States paying taxes for the supplying of the libraries, your tax dollars should not be spent putting those books into the hands of 10, 11, 12, and 13-year-old kids. Let them be kids. Put the books in there that are useful. Put the books in there that are helpful. Put the books in there that are educational and will help your child develop into a productive member of society. Not talking about fisting and bleeding and pissing on someone's face. That shit has no place in the hands of a minor, period. They will find it if that's what they're looking for. Don't direct them to it. Don't put it on the shelves of the schools. Come on. There is the justification for that is just bullshit from square one. And again, do not misunderstand that I'm in any way calling for censorship. I'm calling for the responsible behavior of the people that are in charge of raising the next generation, preparing these people to be the leaders of our communities, our states, our countries. I got nothing else to say. And if anybody thinks that it is acceptable to have these books in a middle school, I got nothing to say to you other than get wrecked, because I think that is utterly indefensible, utterly reprehensible, utterly disgusting and despicable that anybody could support letting a 10-year-old, 11-year-old child read any of this shit that we talked about today. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, chat. You guys have been troopers through all of this. I appreciate, we got one more super chat here, and then we're going to redirect over to Solomon Anderson's interview with Megan Fox. Renee Collins, they exchange civics with this crap, right? This needs to stop. And you are the people that can stop it. Get involved in your local school boards. Many school boards won't let people attend that don't have children in the schools and whatnot, but if you do, stay involved. The thing that frightens me most as a board member is when important issues like this are being discussed, nobody shows up. Someone else more knowledgeable than me has this under control. Parents, it's imperative you go to the school board meetings. You are the person that they must listen to. You have a voice. Stick up for your children. Be the voice of reason and responsibility for your child. Mods, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Chat, again, you guys have been great. Appreciate you, the responsibility and the way that you conduct yourselves always. Please like and subscribe. We have now officially lost a net of 5 subscribers. So we gained some more back. We went down to 35,995. Now we're back up to 35,999. One more, get us back to 36,000. I'm on the way out. Bless you all. Join me tomorrow. Haven't decided what we're going to talk about yet, but I've got a lot of things rattling around up here, and we'll get to something. See you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, new topic. Let's all go over and watch Solomon Anderson's interview with Megan Fox. We'll see you over there. Thank you so much for all your support. Love y'all. Larax.